Stakes are high. Having served 2 terms, President Uhuru Kenyatta will not be allowed to run again, but the reforms include the creation of a post of Prime Minister, so there's speculation that Mr Kenyatta and his rival-turned-ally Raila Odinga have plans to share power. If the Court of Appeal allows the reforms to go ahead, dozens of new constituencies could be created. Critics say Kenya can ill afford this, as politicians already consume a staggering amount of public funds.
The authorities in Uganda have suspended the work of at least 50 local organisations, including human rights groups. Some have had their operations suspended indefinitely due to licensing or auditing reasons. Among those suspended are some that were founded on religious lines and women's rights organisations. The rights group Chapter 4 Uganda has been suspended indefinitely. BBC News. Shelling by Syrian government forces has killed 4 children from the same family in the rebel-held northwest of the country. The attack happened in the village of Kansafra in the province of Idlib. A French news agency reporter who witnessed the burial of the victims said the ceremony had to be hurried on account of more shelling in the area. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel is meeting the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow for the last time before she steps down. They're expected to hold a joint news conference. Here's Mike Sanders.
At their last pre-pandemic meeting in Moscow, Chancellor Merkel and President Putin talked for more than 3 hours. Some topics haven't changed. They'll disagree about Russian-backed rebels in eastern Ukraine and find common ground on Nord Stream 2, their incomplete undersea gas pipeline, which Germany's allies oppose. 2 new issues have emerged: Afghanistan and Belarus, which has been pushing Middle Eastern migrants into the European Union in retaliation for sanctions. All this on the anniversary of the nerve agent attack on the jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who was treated in Germany. Moscow is still trying to switch the blame to Berlin.
Malaysia has appointed a new Prime Minister, its 3rd in 3 years. Ismail Sabri Yaakob replaces Muhyiddin Yassin, who resigned on Monday after political infighting cost him his parliamentary majority. A palace statement said Mr Ismail had secured majority support in Parliament, although he'll have to face a confidence vote. He takes over as Malaysia grapples with an economic slump and growing public anger over the handling of the coronavirus pandemic. There's been a surge in demand for coronavirus vaccinations in the UAE as the Emirate of Abu Dhabi bars anyone who hasn't been jabbed from public places. Starting today, it will affect entry to cafes, restaurants, universities and theme parks. BBC News.
天天在一起，天天用心听，听见台北的声音。FM 93.1幸福永远属于你。
公民总主笔，
方恩格时间。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？我当家。你当家？我当家。
我当家。
到底谁当家？你来当家。
Welcome to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. I'm your host, Ross Darrell-Feingold. Today, our guest is Lisa Liang, a teacher from Cats English.
Yes.
Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Well, before we get into any more detail about teaching English to kids and phonics and COVID-19 and teaching, let's get through a very basic question. Do you like the kids to call you Lisa or Ms. Liang or Teacher Lisa? Because I always find it weird. Like, I've done some teaching in Taiwan, and even when I lecture in university, the 20-year-old students, they want to call me Teacher Ross. I find it kind of strange.
I know. But like I said, I do find that a bit strange when I first came back to Taiwan and started to teaching. But then I guess it's a culture here. So I'm used to my kids calling me Teacher Lisa.
Teacher Lisa.
Yeah,
okay, then we'll call you
also,
Teacher Lisa today.
But also they call me Miss Lisa sometimes.
But never get it
but
correct,
never
like
get to
Miss
the
Liang.
not the last name, because it's so hard for them to pronounce for some of the kids.
You mentioned coming back to Taiwan. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Vancouver. Actually, it's a beautiful city, and I was born in Taiwan. Our family immigrated to Vancouver, Canada, back in the 90s, which is very, I was about 9 years old when I went to Vancouver.
And of course, that's not unusual. A lot of people from Taiwan, as well as Hong Kong and China, emigrate to Canada and specifically to Vancouver. But do you have one memory that stands out the most about being someone from Taiwan, moved at a very young age, and then growing up in Vancouver?
We have a lot of Taiwanese population in Vancouver, actually Asian, just like you mentioned, like people from Hong Kong and China and Taiwan. I grew up in a very small town in Taiwan. It's actually Nantou. That's like, I grew up in a town in Puli. That's like about 30 minutes close to Salmon Lake. So before I went to Canada, I had no idea what's English at all. I have no idea where's Canada specifically. And my mom told us that we are going to Disneyland. We are moving close to Disneyland. That's what she told us. So my brother and I, we were very happy. But then once we moved to Canada, we know, hey, there's no Disneyland in Canada, of course.
Did you ever ask your classmates when you got to school there? Did you ever say, like, hey, where's Mickey and Minnie?
I know. And then we were like looking for the roller coaster, like when we arrived at the airport and we're trying to look for the roller coaster and all that. We're like, wait a minute, this is not like, we don't see any of it. Yeah. And then we realized, hey, there's no Disneyland in Canada. So, and then when I was in Taiwan, I had my elementary school education about 3 years. So like first grade to third grade. And I have to be honest, I wasn't happy at all. I was a very quiet, shy girl, which like I would never speak in public at all. And every semester, the teacher will write on the comment they would write about like Lisa is a quiet, shy girl, like words like that. And then, but then I'm always top of my class, like always the first one top of my class. And I got a lot of like awards and all that. And because we grew up in a very small town, which back in the days was like 90, 80 something, or 1990s, and like everyone knows almost one another. And my dad, he owned a hospital in a small town, and then it's right beside our Chinese school. So basically all the schools, all the teachers, all the students, they know who I am. So they will have this label on me, like, oh, you're a doctor's daughter, so you should behave yourself, you should look pretty, you have long hair, you always dress nicely, and you must like get a good grades in school. So honestly, in that first 3 years in elementary school, I wasn't happy at all. And I knew I wasn't happy. And so that's why I was like really shy. I don't want to talk to anyone. So I just worked really hard on my schoolwork and I got like 100 every time. My dad still has a pile of my...
He's saving your elementary school.
He still has a pile of my test paper and all the certificates.
You could tell your students now in Taipei that your parents are still saving that. And then what happened when you got to Vancouver then?
And then when I got to Vancouver, it was totally different. Like the label was off. For sure, definitely. I was free as a bird. And the teachers, they don't really care what your parents do. So what they do is they encourage you like all the time. Like they encourage you so much that sometimes I think, are you serious? I mean, this is like simple, easy word and you're still saying, oh, good job. You did wonderful, amazing. Sometimes I feel like, okay, you guys, this is too much. But I have to say, encouraging kids, like starting with a very young age, it really helps them to, I mean, it did like help me boost up my confidence for sure. So by the time we went to Vancouver like for a year, and then we came back to Taiwan for a quick summer vacation visit. And I went back to my old school my old Chinese school in Nantou to see my old teachers. Yeah. And they were amazed by like how confident I was. And then
I hope they were amazed by how quickly your English had improved also.
Yes, and then they were amazed that I was actually standing on the stage and then like speaking to them and all that. So I remember one teacher came to me and then she was like, what did they do to you in Canada?
But it was positive. It was not negative.
Yeah, that. I remember that vividly, like, because she was my classroom teacher. Yeah, so she asked me that question.
So you spent most of your teenage years in Vancouver, but then you went to university at the University of Alberta. Now,
yes.
Here in Taipei, we meet a lot of Canadians, whether or not they have family ties to Taiwan, who went to either the University of British Columbia
UBC.
Or some of the universities in Ontario that are really well known. But we don't meet a lot of people here in Taipei who went to University of Alberta. I apologize if anyone in the audience did go there. But tell us about this experience of going to university in Alberta.
Yes, I do realize that people like in Taiwan mostly know about UBC, SFU, University of Toronto. Once in a while, you hear like Waterloo University or McGill, like that. Yes, our school, University of Alberta, it's actually, I have to say, people, it's actually, like, I Googled it yesterday, we're top 5 right now in Canada, top 5 university. And actually, our school is very well known. We have a good reputation in research field. And I think the reason that not a lot of people heard about our school is because most researchers, they are in labs all the time. So that's why like they don't come out with social. So not a lot of people will meet people, graduates from University of Alberta. That could be it. But yeah, I have to be honest, like it wasn't my very first choice to go to University of Alberta. My first choice was University of Toronto. And the thing that happened was when I was back in high school, I was really rebellious. So by the time you have to start to apply for college, I didn't go to a very good college at first. I went to a school in Eastern Canada. It's a very small, sort of like a community school. Yeah, and it's like, at that time, it was ranked like 24, 25. Like, it's like the very lowest, like almost the lowest ranking, yes. And then, as you know, like parents in Asia, they're like, no, like, how could you like go to a college like this?
Yeah, well, everybody in Nantou had high expectations for you.
I know, yeah. So I was like, fine, like, let me just go there for a year and try. So actually, I flew all the way from Vancouver, Western, very pretty. We don't get a lot of snow. And I flew all the way to Eastern Canada. It's actually in Ottawa. By the way, it's the capital city of Canada, which a lot of people get mistaken because they thought it's in Toronto. So I flew to Ottawa for a year, and that I started to realize, hey, like I sort of realized it's not a right fit for me. So I worked very hard for my freshman year because honestly, with all the partings, I already done that, been there, done that back in high school. So it's actually not that interesting for me. So my freshman year, I worked very hard, and I decided I want to apply, I want to transfer to a better school. Like, at least my parents would stop nagging me about it. So I took out the ranking chart of the universities. So I started, trying to figure out which one I should go to. So I check the top 10s. Then I think, hey, I could go to Toronto because Ottawa is actually only about 2 hours drive from Toronto. And my cousin, she studied there too. So I applied for University of Toronto and also University of Alberta because my brother, he studied in University of Alberta because he was in pre-med. So that's why I decided on these two schools, but I have my eyes on University of Toronto. And then, back in the days, we don't do online application at that. We have to go to the post office, you mailed it, you mail your transcript, and then you're waiting eagerly like every single day for the
the acceptance or rejection letter.
Yeah, and then you check your mailbox. You literally not the internet mailbox, not the inbox.
The snail mail.
Yeah, the mailbox, and you're waiting for the the mailman to deliver your mail, and then you ran out and then check your mailbox and see if you got the letter. And then I waited. I only got like acceptance letters from University of Alberta, which I was very happy. But I was actually a bit upset about how come I didn't get into University of Toronto. So a week after, my landlord, who happened to live downstairs, like in the basement, she came up to me and she's like, "Lisa, I got something to tell you." I was like, yeah? And she was like, "I am so sorry, but your letter got mixed up with mine." So she took out a letter from University of Toronto, and then I opened it. It said I got accepted, but I missed the deadline. And I know, right? And then my landlord, she was super, like, she's a very nice Japanese lady, and she was like you could really see her. She's about to kill herself or something, like in a Japanese way. And she's like, she keeps saying, "Oh my God, like, are you okay? Like, is this like?" She keep asking me, if this is very important, but then I didn't want to hurt her feeling because she's already looking really bad. So I keep saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like, it's nothing. They're just telling me to, mail my transcript again," stuff like that. But then once I went into my room, I cried for a whole day.
Is that why you decided to major in psychology?
Could be. Actually, yeah. So that happened. So so there you go. So I went to University of Alberta instead of Toronto.
Well, why did you decide to major in psychology?
Psychology, right? That's a good question. When I was little, I was a very observant girl. Yeah, because I was really quiet and shy. So I like to watch people a lot. And my parents, often they have guests coming over. So I would see a lot of like adults. So I would like, this uncle looks, I would have some of my, I would start thinking, and then, maybe he is like more of this way or more of that way. So actually I was really curious about people's behavior. So then I decided that I think when I was about grade 6, I kind of know that I want to do this. I want to study psychology in college. I didn't know if I want to really pursue a career in psychology, but I know I want to major in psychology for sure. Yes.
Do you ever encounter psychology students here in Taipei? And
actually, not quite.
or psychologists? Because even psychiatry, it doesn't seem to be as popular here in Taiwan as it is in other countries. Although people are more and more appreciating the important work that both psychiatrists and psychologists do. But still, it seems like here there's still a bit of that stigma.
Yes, I do. For psychology in Taiwan, I think most of them, they go into either two ways, either into counseling or the social, or they work in a social, work as a social worker. Which not a lot of psychology graduates, they like, you have to be really passionate about psychology to work as a social worker in Taiwan, because as far as I know, they don't get paid really well and long hours, and also they are very stressful, and it's actually a dangerous job too. Yes.
Speaking of high pay, or at least the stereotype, that's a good transition to what you do now, teaching English. So let's just get that stereotype out of the way, because a lot of Taiwanese people think that English teachers are paid really, really well. Now, is that true, Lisa?
No.
Okay, all right, we got that out of the way.
If it's true, I wouldn't be here. I'll be on the beach.
Okay, so that leads us to the next question is, since you said you don't get highly paid as a teacher or an English teacher here in Taipei, what inspired you to teach toddlers and children English in Taipei?
Okay, I get lots of questions. I get people asking me that a lot, especially they ask me, "Oh, do you like kids?" I would say, yes, I do. I do love kids. And I like spending time with them, and in a way that you actually see how them grow every day, step by step, every single day. And then sometimes they do really drive you crazy, like a lot of times. But in the end of the day, when you send them home, you actually look through their work, or you're just cleaning up the classroom. You kind of feel like I kind of feel like I actually accomplished something today. Yes, there's a really warm, heart tickling feeling. Sometimes by the end of the day, I would feel like that.
That's so moving. It's also very broad. Is there something specific that you enjoy? For example, something as simple as when the children pronounce or learn new words correctly, or what are the specifics that you enjoy about it?
Like because I teach toddlers most of the time, and then when they come in, because we are an English school, a CATS English school, and then we don't, the kids, they have no knowledge of English at all. So we start from very basic skills, like recognizing the alphabet, knowing like the letters and sounds. And you start, like when they first came in, they all have this blank face, like they're just looking at you like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? Because they're clueless. They know nothing about English. So by the time they came to us for like a week or two, and then when we start, it's like basic comments like sit down please, or even take out your book. They don't even know that. And by the time it's like after 2 weeks, when you just say, oh, please take out your book, and you see kids, they really take out your book. I'm like, oh my God, they understood me. Yes. So
what's the correct age for you? You said at CATS English, a lot of the toddlers have no English background at all. What's the correct age, from a teacher's perspective, an educator's perspective, for kids here in Taiwan to get into that, to start that kind of instruction?
Okay. Personally, I don't think there's like a correct age that they really have to start. It's just like, because in our school, we do a lot of environmental learning, which means it's a whole language system. It means that you kind of put the kids in an environment that's surrounded by English, which I think by the time the kids are born, I think parents could start doing that. Because like we do have, like in Taiwan, I think recently we do have a lot of English around us, which just that we're not used to it. Parents, they don't pay attention to it because most of them, we don't really speak English all the time, like daily basis. So, but for the kids, they actually, you can put them in an environment that's like English based. But for example, like you play songs like toddler, like nursery rhymes, you play CD, put them to bed like that, so they could start as young as when they're babies.
So really there's no age that's too young to begin a second language.
Yes, that's right, because think of it, actually most people in Taiwan, like we are bilingual, because some of the grandparents, they speak Taiwanese, dialect, right? And something they are from Hakka family, so they learn Hakka. So when people ask me what's the correct age, there's no really correct age to start. We learn like both languages. We're bilingual. We just don't pay attention to it because, like, when I was little, my grandma she only speaks Taiwanese, so we only have to speak Taiwanese to her. And then in school, we speak Mandarin. So basically, people just don't realize that we are actually. It's in our gene that we're actually bilingual. People can be bilingual, even trilingual.
You mentioned the parents, the toddlers' parents. Give us, from an English teacher's perspective, the good and the bad about the parents here in Taipei when they send their young children to an English school.
Okay. Should I start with the bad ones or the good ones?
Well, hopefully it's not that bad.
Okay.
But do share with us, from
We
a
do
teacher's
have-
perspective.
Most of the parents, they're nice, 97% of the time. But that 3% sometimes it really drive you crazy. I do have parents coming up to me after a parent-teacher interview asking me, are you married? Are you do you have any kids? If I told them no, I'm single, I don't have any children, they would say, then you know nothing about children.
They really say it to you that directly.
They would say that to me, yes. And then luckily every time I do have a translator or I do have a staff that's helping me in the classroom. And they would, of course, we would explain to them that, as a teacher, we have experience in children. It doesn't matter if I have kid or not. I mean, I'm with a kid for 24/7. And besides, I've been teaching for over 10 years. I mean, I have big data about kids. And yeah, and then I do have parents coming. Oh, we do have some other example of I wouldn't say bad parents, but difficult parents. They would, before school starts, they would start asking about who's my kids' teachers this semester and blah, 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 all that. And then they wanted to know, I don't know why they came up with this question, but they would ask, is the teacher pretty? So I really have no clue why they want to ask that.
I mean, it's not going to rub off on their children either way, whether the teacher's pretty or not.
They would ask,
maybe they're worried about their husbands trying to chat with the teachers. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, you'll tell us a bit about the good, the good side of the parents. You're listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station.
如有长照服务需求、长照特别扣除额问题，请拨打1966长照专线，5分钟内通话免付费。一通电话让长期照顾管理专员协助申请长期照顾服务及解答长期照顾特别扣除额相关问题。以上内容由台北市政府卫生局提供。
爸爸应酬不开车，黄色嘟嘟安全多。应酬喝酒不过量，安全回家最上道。爸爸要平安回家哦。
喝酒不开车，开车不喝酒哦。让我们一起尊重生命，拥抱亲情。
亲爱的民众，提醒您定期清除排油烟机内部油垢。烹煮食物时，切忌分心做其他事情，并注意人离火熄。且厨房附近应设置灭火器，操作时保持适当距离。当厨房火灾时，严禁以水灭火。油锅起火也千万不要移动油锅，以免翻覆造成火势扩大延烧。以上内容由台北市政府消防局提供。
亲爱的朋友，您还在吸烟吗？快拿着健保卡到戒烟门诊或拨打戒烟专线0800636363。提醒您，最近兴起的电子烟、加热烟，因为没有浓浓的烟臭味，就被认为无害。其实已经证实，新兴烟品都有二手烟及三手烟的危害，甚至还有爆炸的风险。我是义工蔡依林，所有烟品都 get out。我拒烟，我骄傲。
家己电台吼，家己主持的。大家好，我是郭文铁，我伫台北广播电台。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？谁当家？
谁当家？
谁当家？
我当家？
你当家？我当家？
我当家？
到底谁当家？你来当家。
Back to Residence Messenger. Our guest today is Teacher Lisa from Cats English. Before the break, Teacher Lisa, we were discussing some of the bad things that parents do and some of the odd questions they sometimes ask the school administrators or the teachers. Tell us some of the good things that you see in parents who send their kids for extra English education.
Okay, for good parents, of course, we welcome them all the time. We do have them coming to school all the time. And I have to say, being, because I'm not a parent myself yet, so I wouldn't say I'm an expert in parenting, but I do find out that most parents who are really good with their kids, or kids who behave, well, not just behave very well, but they excel in schools, like academically or even, socially, like that, they spend quality times with their children. Yes, quality time as like every single day, they will probably spend like at least 10 or 15 minutes, maybe talking to the kids, or maybe
no
just
computer,
no
tablets,
no phone,
yeah.
no tablet, no like they call it 3 C's or anything like that. Yes, and then it's just like real quality time where, back in the old days, after dinner, everyone we would just sit in the living room, and then maybe you can just I don't know, because that's how I grew up. Like because my dad is a super busy man, like he's a surgeon, so he would just pop in sometimes before he leaving for the hospital. He would say, "Hey, how's your day go?" So we just really look at you, and then having a decent conversation like that. So I think good parents, they spend a lot of good quality times with their kids, and also they are super nice to the staff and the teachers. Of course,
be nice to teachers, but having good English language ability for the parents, is that crucial to the success of, especially with toddlers that you teach, or trust in the teacher, and it's not as important for the parents to have good English skills?
Yes, I think you're totally right. Like, first of all, you just have to trust your teacher. Like, as a parent, you don't really need to have a really good English ability, like you said. Like, you don't have to go to Harvard or MIT. The thing is, you really have to trust your kid's teacher, and then you have to trust your kids too, for sure. Parents, you gotta trust, and also parents have to trust themselves that you you are making a good decision, and you trust your kid that they're gonna excel in school, and you have to also believe in yourself that you are already doing a very good job. So no pressure on the parents, but you just really have to really, parents, you have to believe in yourself and believe in your kid, and also the teachers, of course.
Let's talk a little bit more about the teachers. Earlier in the show, we talked about some of the stereotypes, like they make a lot of money. Not true. English teachers in Taipei are not that well paid.
Unless you open your own school.
And you mentioned some of the questions or stereotypes that some of the parents might have about teachers, but give us an overview and maybe share some good and bad as well. Who are teaching children in Taiwan's not the day school, not the public school, but in kind of the bushibans and the cram schools and places like Kat's English with toddlers? Who are these people who are teaching Taipei's children English?
I have to say, people who are in this career, in this industry, we have a lot of love and patience for the kids, and we really want to do something in the society as well. Of course, we start with the little ones. Like kindergarten, the word kindergarten is it's from German, which means garden. Like, of course, everyone knows what's a garden, but kinder, it means like little seeds. So basically, you plant a seed in a garden and you take care of the garden. So that's what the word kindergarten derived from. So this is what teachers do, especially in we teach toddlers or younger learners. Yes, so we want to teach them about just being, at least like being a decent, good people, so that we could make this. I know this sounds really cliche, but at least we could have a better society, a better world, and also for the kids when they grow up in the future. I know most of them, they don't remember their kindergarten teachers at all, but at least there's that little tiny seed that's planted in their heart, that they know what's decent or integrity or even just a little bit of love, that they will actually remember.
And you could verify that every teacher in Taipei, English teacher, is just as devoted as you? No, you don't have to answer that. That's okay. You talked about planting this seed with little children that you teach English. Several governments during my time in Taiwan have said, we're going to make this a bilingual society.
Yes.
And you've been in the industry now for 10 years, and you've also had to deal with what the kids learn in the public schools and sort of changing curriculums and things like that. Is this possible? Is Taiwan
ready?
Or can it be a bilingual society?
I do think it will. I mean, it will happen. I do think it's doable. But
which is great for me, because maybe the show will be turned into like 4 hours instead of 1 hour.
And then, but with the time frame, because right now the government say that they're gonna do it in 2030, which is less than 9 years, I believe. Yes. So, I think we might take a bit more time than that. Maybe, let's say, another 10 to 15 years, maybe. Yeah. But I have to say, ever since I started teaching Taiwan, which is back in 2006, that was almost like 14 years ago, and I have to say, like most people in Taiwan, their English ability is getting better and better, so much better. Yes, I have before back in 2006, I like most of the parents, they need a translator. When I was talking to them, when we had like PTC, Parents Teacher Conference, almost like 80% of the parents, they needed translator. But like nowadays, like I found it like about 5 or 6 years old recently, like most of the parents in the class, about 70%, they don't need a translator at all. Yeah.
So it sounds like, at least for here in Taipei, you're just it's anecdotal, but you're observing an improvement, broadly speaking, with the English language ability,
yes.
At least in Taipei.
At least in Taipei, because this is the only city I've worked at. I tried to look for a teaching job in Taichung about 10 years ago, because my family, they still live in Nantou, so they really want me to move back, close to them. So that was like 10 years ago. I tried to look for a teaching job in Taichung, which unfortunately the first thing the pay, it was really bad. Yeah. And I asked them why, because I did have teaching experience and I taught in a really good reputational schools in Taipei, and then they told me, because you're not Caucasian. Sorry, that was 10 years ago back in Taichung, and yeah, that was the answer I got. So I'm like, okay, so I'm still gonna stay in Taipei for sure.
Well, it's good to hear. I mean, it's good to hear that you're optimistic about a bilingual society, even though you've given us a dose of reality about when it might actually occur. But it's also good to hear that you think the workforce and adults here in Taipei their English language ability has improved.
Yes, I think it's because recently, for the past 5 or 6 years, a lot of people, they study abroad and then they came back.
And they watch a lot of Netflix.
Yes, Netflix. that really helps. And also, I think about especially in Taipei, the city itself, it's getting it's starting to grow very internationally. So we do have a lot of foreigners. Before COVID-19, if you go to Yongkang Jie, right? If you go to Yongkang Jie, it's all packed with tourists. And then I think most of the shop owners, or at least some of the people who work there, they kind of speak English most of the time, basic, simple conversation with the tourists. So I think being Taipei, Taiwan being bilingual, I think it's gonna come. I think it's a great idea too. Just look at Singapore.
Even before the pandemic, which you just mentioned, there was a lot of growth in online teaching or tutoring for all subjects, including English. And now there's more. We'll talk about that in some detail. But does online English teaching work for the toddlers and the youngest kids, or is it better for kids who are a little bit older?
Good question, because we've been online teaching for the past 3 months, and we're still doing it right now. Hopefully, because the school is about to start in 2 weeks. Hopefully, right now we're all going back to school in September 1st for sure. But hopefully there's nothing, the pandemic won't spread again, so we could stay in school again. Like you said, you asked actually. Let's see. I think there are pros and cons teaching online. Kids having class online too. For toddlers, I have to say it's a bit hard for both parents and the teachers. Yes, but if you actually train them well, like the parents, if you actually let train them, or even the teachers, the basic basic instruction, like turning on your microphone or turning on your camera, or even how to get online, you will be very surprised at how toddlers, even 5 years old, which I just had a 3-hour class with them this afternoon, even 5 years old or 6-year-old, they know how to do it right away.
I don't know if that's safe. I don't know if I would want toddlers knowing how to turn on the computer.
But they know how to do it in 3 days. In 3 days. When we first started, because we started online teaching in May, when it's just the government didn't give us any warning or sign like that. But once we switched online, all the teachers were so ready for it, because actually we prepared for this last year. Yeah, it just postponed a year. So we were so ready, and then I have to say all the parents and staff and academic in schools, they are very supportive. And besides, we've been doing sort of an online teaching, more of using online tools in class already for the past 5 or 6 years already. Yeah. So teachers, at least in my school, I know, we're used to, having online reading or having online books and stories like that. So it's just that the parents, they just have to get used to it in that very short time. But the kids nowadays in this generation, they grew up with iPhone and iPad. So I was actually very amazed that by the first week that we started virtual learning, the kids, they click, they know it right away. Yeah.
So it sounds like, to make it a success, at least from the teacher perspective, just experience, or having prepared, or like you said, in your school you had used e-tools previously, even though the kids were in the classroom. Yes. But at least you had that previous experience, and it made a big difference when you had to switch to virtual learning.
Yes. And also, I think for toddlers, I would say for toddlers, learning, no matter which language they're learning, or even just going to school, like on site, they have to be with people. Yes, human beings will have to be with people, and especially with a younger age, they have to, really start to learn how to social with each other, how to, behave in a group, or at least they have some kind of ideas of how to interact with each other. So I think I would say if parents are thinking about, keep keep learning virtually, I would say it's better for kids that's above maybe 10 years old. Maybe they're in grade 3 or grade 4. Because for little ones, they cannot sit in the computer for too long. Yeah.
What about during the summer? What were some of the summer activities that were popular this year within the English teaching space?
You do know that summer vacation is about to end, right? Okay. We do. I do have some suggestions for parents, because summer is about to end, and we do have games, all that. Sorry, parents, it's time for you guys to, have the kids ready for school too. And kids, sorry, your summer is about to be over in 2 weeks. So it's a time right now the parents can start a routine at home that maybe they could start turning the alarm clock to, 7, or go to bed early. And I have a suggestion here. You guys parents at home, they could actually play a scavenger hunt game. How to get your kid ready for school. For example, you guys can play a game at home, like maybe it's called packing your school bag. So the kids and you guys can start coming up with ideas. What do you need to bring to school? So instead of moms and dads nagging their kids, go get your bag, go get your books, when it's September, it's too late. You can start by doing it right now, and then you make it fun. You make it like a game. You can do it at home. So like scavenger hunt game. And then it's a fun game for the little ones. Parents, you can have a list out, and then you can hide the stuff around the house, and the kids can go and find them.
And of course, they should do this in English.
Well, it doesn't matter. You can do it bilingual.
So, one of the other things you teach, or one of your areas of expertise, is manners and good behavior. What's the most important thing you have to teach there?
No, it's just like very simple greetings. Because you will be surprised, a lot of kids come to school, they don't greet to people. They were just walking, and then they would just, do their own stuff. Then they would look at you, like when they see people passing by, they just look at you and then look down, and they just keep doing whatever they're doing. Because I don't know, to me, because in North America, we grew up like saying, even the neighbors we walk by, we just say, hi, how do you do, like that. And then even like people would just hold the door for you if you're going in or coming out, and hold the elevators, like very simple manners that we don't see it anymore in like nowadays. Yeah. So what do we do is we actually just tell the kids that at least if you see someone, you don't know like the teacher's name or anything, at least you could say is hello or hi.
But wait, what about a hello, sir?
Yes.
Or too strict? Am I too old-fashioned on that one?
Yes. But at least like greetings, like basic greetings, or at least an adult is asking you a question, the kids would actually answer it back. I mean, it's okay to say I don't know. It is really okay to say I don't know. But for the kids, some of them, they just look at you. They just really look at you, and then they're just dead silent.
Or the one I often get is they'll look at you and they'll just say no.
Oh. There you go. So yeah, so that's what we call by this really, it's just some really simple social, like how people behave, how we should really interact properly with each other. Yeah. So I wouldn't really, put it in like rules or like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost out of time. So if parents want to learn more about Teacher Lisa or Kat's English, where could they go?
Okay, you guys, everyone could go on Facebook. You guys can type 凯斯英语仁爱校 because we do have a lot of branches. If you want to look for me, I'm teaching in Ren Ai branch. And we do have 4 other different branches around in Taipei, and we do have 2 kindergartens too. And you can always Google, so just Google Kat's language education, yes, or Kat's language school or Kat's English school. You will find us online.
Well, thanks for coming in, Teacher Lisa. I certainly learned a lot, but there won't be. I hope there won't be any test at the end of this show. And
we don't have a test. We'll have a pop quiz.
No, please don't. I'm getting too old for that. No. But I hope that some of the parents listening today also learned some good lessons about things to do with their kids, and also to be nice to the teachers.
Yes, and please get ready for school in September. Like help yourself and also help us.
Terrific.
Yes.
You've been listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. Have a great